the Hungry Ghost Festival. Or what we like to call it, the 7th month period. It is also when strange things tend to happen. And those unlucky ones tend to see things that are not supposed to be seen. I thought I'd share something which happened to a friend of mine. There was once he and 2 of his friends went to a certain karaoke bar, in the central part area of Singapore during 7th month a few years ago. They booked a room and sang for around 4 hours. Now this happened to be a very big problem for various reasons. One, it's believed that spirits are attracted to dark spaces. And it happens that the karaoke rooms are generally really dark. Secondly, music and singing are a form of entertainment not just for us but for the spirits as well. They spent the hours in the room, drinking, snacking, and singing. Enjoying themselves. Once they had their fun, they get ready to leave and make the payment. Just right at the front desk. The cashiers charge them for 4 people, looking baffled at each other as there is only him and 2 of his friends who are singing. Yet the fee was for 4 people. The cashier kept insisting that when they arrived, they had another lady with them. One of the cashiers told them to wait while she clarifies with the manager. After a few minutes later, the cashiers returned, and firmly insisted that there was no problem with the bill and asked the group to pay up. Thinking that they had visited a black shop. The 3 of them insisted to see the manager. My friend spoke with the manager, and it escalated to a dispute with them. Seeing that the guys would not back down and keep on insisting that there were only 3 of them. The manager decided to lead the trio to the CCTV room. And finally, they decided to check the footage from security cams in the room. Replaying back the earlier footage. To his horror, the footage showed 4 people in the room. It clearly displayed that there was indeed a long-haired girl, following closely behind them the moment they entered the shop. When they were inside the room, there was a shadow of the girl sitting at the edge of the couch, while the trio was happily singing. The girl was looking at the floor throughout the whole hour of the session. And when my friend and his 2 friends left the room together, she stood up and left with them, all the while still gazing at the same spot on the floor. As the cashiers watched the video, it dawned on them what was happening, and they waived off the charges for the 4-person.
My dad used to work at a coffee shop near an old office building before its closure, hence I would often visit him there. I could still remember, at that time there, whenever I visited my dad at his workplace, there was an old security guard sitting just outside the old building. Months before the building was abandoned, my dad had a casual chat with the guard, and whenever my dad reaches the topic about the movement of the office building, the guard would always put on a sad look, which is given, since he has been working as a guard for that office building for nearly 40 years. Years later, a group of my friends, including me, went to explore that abandoned office building during the 7th month. They boarded almost every entrance and window, but not the front entrances facing the road. There were 7 of us, and needless to say we only got 2 torch lights. Things was still smooth when we explored the 1st and 2nd level. Both the level room was very dusty, and sheets all around the floor. It was a little spooky and full of cobwebs, with the only light coming through as the boarded window and the torch lights. But things started happening when we reached the 3rd level. After exploring the 3rd floor and found nothing, we decided to leave for the exit. Just then our torch was getting weak and another torch suddenly spoiled. We retraced back from where we came, but feels like we went round and round for almost 30 minutes and yet could not find the exit. Some of the girls in the group started to panic. Then, to my amaze, the security guard who used to work at this building came up the stairs, but he was not holding any torch, and it was rather dark, so we couldn't see him clearly. He guided us back down, and I was among the last few to go down the stairs. As we reached the ground floor, we could finally see the exit. The security guard guided us out, and me and my friends thanked the guard. I was really surprised that he was still working as a guard, even though the building has been abandoned for some times. Guess he must really love this building, I thought. At night, I was very curious as why he would still be there after the building is abandoned. So, I casually asked my dad about him, and what my dad replied sent chills to my spine. Apparently, the security guard had an accident at the old office building and had since passed away. I still wonder whether it was his spirit that night who saved us from getting lost, and who knows what would happen if he had not found us.
People says that hospitals are the most unclean places in the world. I can't disagree with that, especially when I personally experience something weird. This happens during the 7-month. At that time I was working as a nurse for my intern at a local hospital. One day, I made my round up to the SICU, Surgical Intensive Care Unit, to pass supplies to the ward. I was waiting for the lift, and when it came, I pushed my trolley into it and entered. Pressed the basement level for my department. The door closed, but suddenly opened. Thinking that maybe there was someone outside, I peeped out. But there was no one there. I pressed the close button again. And the same thing happened, the lift door opened. This happened for 4 times. At this point, my hair have this rising feeling, as if signaling me to exit the lift. As I exited, the door closers and went down. I thought, maybe something is wrong with the lift sensor. As I waited for another lift that had finally arrived, and bring me down to the basement level. When the door opens at the basement, I push my trolley out of the lift. The lift on the left, which was the lift that refused to take me, opens at the same time. What came out of it was total shock for me. Out came 2 attendants with a metal coffin, those that the hospital uses to transfer the dead to the morgue. And the morgue happened to be at the basement. The family of the dead was weeping and crying. For some reason I suddenly felt a chills to the bone. And for the rest of the day I felt sick and morbid. Was there something in the lift awaiting the arrival of the dead? That's why the lift did not allow me to go down, I wondered. A month passed. My supervisor decided to send my group of colleagues and I to an old hospital that has already been closed at that time, to retrieve whatever can be salvaged from the old buildings there. The first day we went there, I had this feeling that the hospital was covered in a dark aura. The only lift there smells of disinfectant and death, and it always got stuck in the middle of 2 floors. Most of the electricity was either out or cut off. I guess all abandoned buildings look spooky. One day, me and one of my colleagues was assigned to count the total number of metal bed frames left in the hospital. We decided to count from the main building first, from the top level down. We opened the ward door with our keys and walked in. It was a Class C ward comprised mainly of different rooms by partitions with no doors. In front of the partitions there is a long corridor linking every room. We simply looked in and count the number of beds. I was doing the counting and my colleagues beside me was doing the recording. Then I came to the second last room. I peeked in but ignored counting and just continued to the last ward. 8 beds. All right, but wait. The second room you never count. So how many beds? My colleagues ask. Then it struck me, as I never count the beds in that ward. I saw a room fully furnished. There were mattresses and pillows on each bed, with cases and all, like a perfect condition ward in a hospital. And on the first bed right near the door, there was this old man, dressed in hospital grown, sitting on the side of the bed and looking directly at me. 8 beds. All right, done. I pulled my colleagues along and walked fast out of the ward, not daring to look to my left as I passed that particular room. My colleagues thought I was lazy and whacked me on my back when I was out of the ward. I told her exactly what happened. She scolded me even more. She later told me that when a person were to see any unclean things they are not supposed to tell others, or their bad luck will pass on to them. To this day, it still sends chills down my spine just to think about it.